Hello and a very good morning to you. Welcome to Estoril. We're in Portugal for round 5 of the FIM CEV Repsol. We're over halfway through the season. We're heading into the FIM CEV Repsol summer break and we are in the party atmosphere as we're getting ready to get racing underway. Bit of a change in the order though compared to what we had last time out in Valencia and a couple of current rounds beforehand, in terms of the fact that we've got a bit of a change up in terms of the motorbikes and the classes that will be out on track. More on that soon. However, let's run you through the circuit here at Estoril. 16 laps. First up is the European Talent Cup that's going to be out on track. A 4.182 kilometres long circuit, 4 left-hand turns and 9 right. But as I said, different running order here today in Estoril. We've got 2 European Talent Cup races, one at the start of the day, and then we've got one towards the end of the day, not quite the final end of the day, and then we've got 2 Moto2 races and just 1 Moto3 race. So if you tuned into the first round at Albacete in Spain, of course, then you will know that it's exactly the same schedule as we had in Albacete. However, perhaps this is your first time joining us. First of all, welcome along. It's great to have you here. But we are running a different order here today compared to what we've had so far throughout the season. And it's set for plenty of exciting racing action. So my name is Tom Brooks. I'll be guiding you through the action here today. And alongside me, as ever, is Dakota Momola. Dakota, it's great to have you back in the box.
Great to be here. Great racetrack, Estoril. It's great to be back here. MotoGP used to race here a few years back, and yeah, I mean, really windy, windy area by the beach. But let's see, these boys are going to be affected a lot more than the rest of the classes. So hopefully everyone can stay up on the bike.
Well, as we mentioned, of course, if it is your first time joining us here for the European Talent Cup and, of course, the FIM CEV Repsol all together, you will, of course, notice that we've got the European Talent Cup here, brand new for 2017. They're 250cc machines. All riders are on identical bikes. No modifications allowed, aside from a few setup changes. And this man here was dominant in qualifying, Manuel Gonzalez. As you can see, third, second, third, and then a DNF last time out in Valencia. He was the fastest man by some way in qualifying. Looked like a very, very dominant force in the race, or it looks like he could be a very dominant force in the race, I should say. But Dakota, it all went wrong for him in Valencia when he crashed out of second place at turn number 2. It really couldn't have gone worse for him.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's had a really consistent start of the season. There's always going to be that one-off, race that you make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. So there he is, pole position. He knows he can be at the front. He knows he can win and, finish in the front. So with this win, though, you really need to focus. And I was out there, it was getting more and more windy. And especially in the front straight, if you have tailwind, everything can change. Your brake marks and everything could be different to yesterday because you could have headwind yesterday. So everything could be different. But yeah, like you said, consistency right now is the key if you want to win a championship, and he is consistent, so he just needs no more DNFs.
Exactly. We're just looking at Maikon Kawakami. This was a man who shone in the opening round in Albacete. As you can see, 2 races in Albacete, 4th and 6th position for him respectively. Lines up on the front row of the grid after what's been, I would say, a difficult few rounds. DNF last time out in Valencia and only 11th in Barcelona. So a bit of a difficult start to the season, or midway through the start of the season, we should say, for Kawakami. And we just saw a few moments beforehand Simon Jesperson, the Danish rider, who lines up in the middle of the second row, his best qualifying of the season so far, which is really great news for the Danish rider. And we're set for what's going to be a very exciting race, Dakota. We've seen this throughout the course of the season. This was the man who started on pole position last time. Francisco Gomez, 15 years of age, 11th in the championship, however, just 25 points on the board. As we said, started on pole position, but in Valencia, it didn't go very well for him at all. He had a DNF, and that was down to a last lap incident that he was involved in. Really couldn't have gone much worse for him, unfortunately. It all went wrong. As we say, right on the final lap when Miguel Parra tried to find a way up the inside of Gomez. Unfortunately, he clipped his rear wheel down in turn 8 and they went down the road. So this is the man as well who's looking pretty good. Edouard Melgar. He's had a good run of form so far, as you can see. Good consistent results there. Top 5s, top 10s at the start of the season, but into the top 5s now. 14 years of age is the Spaniard on the number 25, 6th in the championship. Middle of the second row, looking good.
Yeah, like you said, consistent, and he looked pretty big for a 15-year-old. And on these bikes with the wind, it could really affect the the heavier you are, it could affect more than or the taller you are can also affect you more. So, but slipstream is going to be a very big key factor with this wind, and. Here's Alejandro Diaz.
Alejandro Diaz, who qualified very well in Valencia and managed to storm his way up to his first podium of the season. And as you can see on the graphic on the right-hand side of your screen, by far his best result of 2017 and indeed in the European Talent Cup. Third place in Valencia for him. He's going to be riding high off a confidence boost. And at this age, Dakota, what does that do for your confidence when you're 14, 15, 16?
I mean, it's the same way as, when you're 20, 25. The better you get and, the more races you can be closer to the front, the more confidence you have, and the more confidence you have to go quicker, and you just keep improving, and like we saw with him. So
indeed, by stark contrast, here's a man who's had a difficult start to the middle part of the season, Joan Uvinha, who's 16 years of age. As you can see, 2 DNFs in the last 2 rounds in Valencia and Catalonia. He had a mechanical problem on the opening lap in Valencia. It all went wrong for Uvinha, unfortunately, there. He's going to be looking to try and bounce back, and he's qualified very well as the Spaniard in 7th position on the grid on the number 23. So keep an eye out for him. Could be a bit of a dark horse in the race. And, of course, if it doesn't go well for them in the first race, they've got that second race to make up for it.
Yeah, that's what's great about that. And as racers, we love when there's 2 race weekends, because if you can have a mechanical, you can have a crash or whatever, you always have a second chance to make it up for it. So for these boys, it's going to be a good weekend for them, and the same as Moto2. I was speaking to Joe Roberts, and the same thing. I said, if you make a mistake or whatever in race 1, don't forget you got race 2 coming up too.
That's really good, isn't it? There is the number 77, Andreas Perez, 13 years of age. He is second in the championship. And as you can see, aside from the DNF, the only blot on his copybook that he's got in Albacete, very consistent run in the season. His first ever win at the second race in Albacete. Then, of course, Catalonia, he finished in 2nd position, just by the skin of his teeth, where his teammate, Iker Garcia, took the victory. And then in Valencia, a good top 5 finish. He's looking like a serious threat for the championship at this stage.
Yeah, starts 8th. That's not really a big problem, and in the middle of the 3rd row, as long as he gets a good start, and with these races you always get these big groups. So he just needs to stay consistent and have two more good races today, and get some good points for the championship.
Exactly. There is Miguel Parra, who we said, of course, had an interesting time in Valencia. Fourth round in Valencia, finished in 2nd position. A podium for him, 4th in the championship as well. 48 points for the Spaniard. He's going to be looking to do well. Of course, he was involved in that incident, as we said, with Francisco Gomez. Gomez tried to find his way up the inside of Parra, clipped Parra's rear wheel, and down went Gomez. Unfortunately, it wasn't the same for Parra. He managed to stay on the motorcycle. Here, though, is Eduard Melgar's teammate, Ferran Hernandez. Best qualifying of the season for him in 10th position for the 15-year-old on the number 47. 16th in the championship, 11 points. Couple of DNFs for him, a couple of finishes, and in the points as well, as we can see, 14th and 7th respectively on the right-hand side of your screen. He's going to be looking to get himself back up the sharp end of the grid and try and prove his worth as well, which will be very interesting to see. As you can see, the cameras are moving about. The wind is really getting up here. 25-mile-an-hour winds we've been expecting, Dakota. We'll talk about more of that in just a moment. But here is the man who took the victory last time out, qualified down in 11th position. As you can see, 1 win, 2 podiums on the board, but the lead in the championship, 64 points for Alex Toledo in Valencia. He was the man who was victorious by the most unexpected of circumstances. Took it on the last lap, took the lead on the last lap after that incident between Miguel Parra and Francisco Gomez, and is now leading the championship, but starts outside the top 10. He's going to have a difficult challenge from there.
Yeah, I mean, 11th place might be a little bit difficult to, but as long as he gets a good start and, gets carried away with the rest of the group, I think he should be fine.
Exactly. There's Iker Garcia. 1 win, 1 podium for him and the Reale Avintia Academy machine. 12 years of age he is on the number 61, as you can see. Something of an inconsistent form he's had over the course of the season. 15th and 17th, and then out of nowhere, that win in Catalonia. Where did he come from?
That is funny. Well, you know, this is what's great about this class. You can have the guy in, you know, 15th place win, like the guy who's going to start from pole. So it's a really shocker and a great championship for these young kids. You know, it gives opportunities, and like we see here with him.
Exactly. So, as we said, the wind is really getting up. But here is the grid for the European Talent Cup then. Let's run you through it for the first race of the day. Manuel Gonzalez, Simon Jesperson, Maikon Kawakami on the front row. Francisco Gomez, Edouard Melgar and Alejandro Diez on row 2. Joan Uvina, Andreas Perez and Miguel Parra are on row 3. Heading row 4 is Ferran Hernandez. Then it's Alex Toledo and Iker Garcia. Row 3 is the Czech rider row 5 is Ondrej Vostatek. Then Pietu Pevalainen and Vincent Falcone. More on them in just a moment. Then it's Jamie Davis, the British rider, in 16th place. Adrian Fernandez alongside him. Row 7, Stefano Kristin, Beatriz Nida, the female rider. Then it's Aurel Naivalark. Then it's Victor Alonso on row 8, Philip Rihaszek and Colin Feldhazen. Jack Hart on row 9. Jose Suarez alongside him, and then the Portuguese rider, the wild card for this weekend, Kiko Martine at the rear end of the grid in 27th position. So keep an eye out for him. Kiko Martine making his debut in the European Talent Cup, but as we said, we talk more about Pietu Pevalainen and Vincent Falcone as the riders get ready to head off on their formation lap. Grid penalty of 3 places apiece for Pietu Pevalainen and Vincent Falcone. They qualified respectively in a very, very good position on the grid for both of those riders. They were 12th and 13th respectively, but got bumped down 3 positions there, Dakota, for cruising on the racing line. We've seen that so much this year.
We've even seen it a lot in the World Championship, you know, and I was speaking down there, and the thing is, especially in these classes, you know, slipstream's such an important factor. You can easily gain, you know, a half a second, maybe 0.3, just on slipstreaming on the front straight or anywhere. So everybody's looking for a tow, and you know, you get penalized for it. If you are, I think it is 107% slower over the time in the split. And if you do it 5 times over in the practice, they penalize you, and it's the same for everybody. So don't do it. Simple
exactly. So the riders then heading off on their formation lap to get some crucial heat in the tyres. And this really is a bit of a trek into the unknown, because the warm-up that we had this morning, Dakota, conditions were quite different to what we've had so far this season in terms of the wind. Because it wasn't so windy this morning, but it's very, very windy now. It's not looking too nice out there. And I was hearing from a few riders in Moto 3, which are heavier bikes than these, that they've been really struggling to keep the front end down in certain parts of the lap. The wind's really affecting these guys.
Yeah, and you said, you know, you've been here a couple of days already, and you said the wind kind of picks up more and more towards the day starts to come, and which worries me, because we're already really windy, and it's only 11 o'clock in the morning, and with these bikes, I'm telling you, you know, we already feel the difference on a Moto 2, which is maybe 3 times heavier than these bikes. I can't imagine these boys.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, it caused me to abandon my track walk yesterday. I'm only a light guy, but I didn't want to get blown off. 25-mile-an-hour winds, and
you'll also see on the grid there will be no umbrellas, because
they'll be turning inside out.
Yes, there's no point even pulling it out.
Exactly. So there we are, the riders now heading down into the right-hander. You can see this is going to be a very important part of the lap, this downhill section right here. We're going to see some good overtakes through this part of the lap, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I miss this racetrack because it was always great to see, you know, MotoGP ride here, and especially this chicane here. Great chicane to the pass on the left, and just a great flowing corner. And, you know, a lot of kids love it. And, you know, the atmosphere here is also great. It's a great area where it's located, you know, near the beach in this. And I think most people like it here. Fantastic.
Good hotels as well. We've stayed in one of the nicest hotels we've had so far this season, haven't we? So the riders then heading towards the grid. Just reminds you of the front row. Manuel Gonzalez, Simon Jesperson and Maikon Kawakami. Here's the man that crashed out of the last race in Valencia. He is going to really be looking to get himself back on form. Just got the tyre allocations through from Dunlop, all on medium compound tyres, front mediums and the medium rears as well. But there we go. The pole man, Manuel Gonzalez, on the Hal Courier Racing Team on the number 18. Keep an eye out for him in this race. Could be a bit of a threat, as you would imagine, from pole position. Simon Jesperson and Maicon Kawakami alongside him. Row 2 is Francisco Gomez, Eduard Melgar, and Alejandro Diez. So the sun is shining here in Estoril. It's a bit cooler than we've had so far this season. The wind is going to play a very important factor. So keep an eye out for that throughout the course of the race. Look to the left-hand side of your screen. Wait for the red lights to come on. The camera can't keep still. We can't keep still here in the commentary box. We wait for the 5 red lights. The green flag has been waved at the back. The red lights are on. They go away now. Great start from Simon Jesperson in the middle of the front row. He gets away very well indeed on the number 43, and he's already taken the advantage as we head down towards the first corner. Manuel Gonzalez in second place, but here comes the number 27 of João Uvinhas, looking very menacing indeed, coming up into third position. Keep an eye out for him, but Manuel Gonzalez takes the lead back from Simon Jesperson in through the first corner. So it's Jesperson from Gonzalez. Now, no, indeed, it's Gonzalez from Jesperson as we head in towards turn 2. The order changing, but all the riders getting through the first corner very nicely indeed, as Kawakami's looking like he's being hung out to dry. He started in third position and has already been shuffled down into P4, but Dakota, everybody holding on very nicely in the opening lap.
Yeah, everyone seems to get through clean, and again, here starts the group formation, and see who how many riders can stay at the front, and before it starts to spread out.
Exactly, so let's see what's going to happen then. 16 laps for these riders here in Estoril. Maicon Kawakami looking like he's trying to find a way up the inside of, by the looks of things, Francisco Gomez. Tries to find his way through, gets himself up into third position for the Brazilian rider with a Japanese name. He's half Japanese, half Brazilian, but races under a Brazilian license. Meanwhile, looks like is that Alex Toledo, who's made an absolutely barnstorming start. If it is, then my goodness me, he's got himself up from about 11th position on the grid all the way into the top 5 on the opening few laps. It is. So Alex Toledo, brilliant start.
Yeah, he must have had a good start, and with this tailwind on the front straight, and and some good slipstreaming, you can easily pass. I'm not kidding you, 2 rows. So, and it seems like he's had a really good start, which is good.
All these riders, of course, on identical motorcycles, so the slipstream is going to be very, very important. That wind, though, is going to affect things as we come around the right hand and head over the timing line to complete the first lap of asking. Manuel Gonzalez already himself and Simon Jesperson putting a bit of daylight between each other, but also putting a bit of daylight between third position as well. Looks like it's all going off further back with Kawakami and Gomez having a bit of a tussle. So keep an eye out for that. That's third position. There is Kawakami on the PlayStation Leglise bike with Gomez just behind him. Then comes Miguel Parra. He is in 5th position with Alex Toledo now into 6th place. Alejandro Diez is 7th. Eduard Melgar's 8th. Andres Perez is in 9th position. And João Uvinhas is in 10th place. But actually, Andres Perez, there he is. We're just noticing going down from the timing screen. And he has crashed out at the start of the second lap. Andres Perez on the Reale Avintia Academy bike walks away. Disappointment for the Spaniard. Let's see what happened here, Dakota. Oh, that's into the first corner. And that was a very strange incident. Looks like he fast. Yeah, looks like carrying too much speed perhaps into there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he looked over there to see maybe if some rider, messed him up or something, but it looked like he broke a little bit way too deep and lost the front early.
Well, we saw that, of course, in warm-up earlier on this morning in one of the Moto2 machines.
Yeah, the problem is, you get, I'm telling you, there's so much, tailwind going on in this front straight that you might be carrying 10K an hour quicker than you're used to. So if you break in the same area that you're used to yesterday, you might be going 15K, 15, 20 meters too deep and, going way too deep and lose the front.
Exactly, so there we are. That's how the running order looks now, though. Still, Manuel Gonzalez, who leads the way on the Hal Courier Racing team. Simon Jesperson, really back on form after what's been a difficult couple of rounds. His clutch broke in Catalonia, and then he was looking pretty good in Valencia last time out. Didn't have a bad race at all, but now he's fighting for the lead, as we saw in the first race in Albacete. And this circuit isn't actually too dissimilar to the first round we had at Albacete. There's a few slow sections in a few places, but also fast and flowing in other areas.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. This racetrack's great. We have all kinds of corners, like you said. We got slow corners, we got fast flowing. We have, that famous chicane that's got some good steepness to it. So that's why everyone kind of misses coming back here. And you never know. Hopefully in the near future, MotoGP come back here and race here again.
You never know. Anything can happen. As Simon Jesperson, he had a bit of a look into the first corner against Manuel Gonzalez. Couldn't quite find a way through there. But nonetheless, he's looking very racy in these opening stages. And is actually lapping just a couple of tenths of a second quicker than Gonzalez, who's leading the way. But that slipstream, though, I'm sure is probably going to be helping him.
Yeah, and it's it's too bad. 'Cause, you know, Gonzalez has been quick the whole weekend, and he could be gaining, you know, 0.3, 0.4 in, you know, in these sectors, but then, you know, loses it all in the front straight because they just re-catch him with the slipstream. So I think he should just, you know, wait for it, you know, have some fun now with these boys, and you know, he knows he's fast. You know, he can attack and just attack in the last few laps.
Well, the leading pack has really closed in on Manuel Gonzalez and Simon Jesperson over the last couple of laps. You can see there Maikon Kawakami. He's leading the head of third position, just ahead of Gomez, Parra and Dieth, as they're having a little bit of a tussle for position as well. But there is Kawakami on the PlayStation Legalese team. Third position for him, really back on form as they go through the chicane, head into the S's. Really very close indeed. There is the number 26 of Miguel Parra. There he is in fourth position on the HMA racing team. Through the final corner we go, and getting ready to go over the timing line. We can see the field sort of spreading out as they come through that final corner, though. It's the slipstream, though, that on the start-finish straight, it really helps. But it all, I guess, gets set up with that final corner.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, that final corner, you got to make sure you come out of there with some good corner speed and get a good run to it. Because if not, with these bikes, especially that have no power, a small mistake out of there can cause you a lot of gap.
So there's number 27 of Alejandro Dieth. He's just defending from Edouard Melgar. Meanwhile, Miguel Parra has a bit of a look up the inside for third position. Can't quite find a way through, but he has managed to get himself ahead of Francisco Gomez. So nice bit of riding there from Miguel Parra. Meanwhile, somebody going down the order is Alex Toledo. He's gone down into 20th place. I wonder where he'd gone from this leading group. He was battling inside the top 5. I can just see one of the Cuna de Campeones machines there, but that is not, by the looks of things, the number 55 of Alejandro Dieth, unless it's a glitch in our timing screen. Meanwhile, Simon Jesperson now hits the front ahead of Manuel Gonzalez, and he's going to be trying to build that gap, but he's going to have a difficult task when he's being followed by all of these riders. So here we go then. Miguel Parra having a look up the inside of Manuel Gonzalez. Gets the move done into the downhill right-hander. Nice bit of overtaking there into turn number 7. Very difficult on the brakes as we head into the right-hander. And then we go into that turns 9 and 10 chicane. Still Jesperson leading the way, but Miguel Parra, he's really got the bit between his teeth there in second place and is going to be trying to find his way through ahead of Simon Jesperson. But as we come into the final section of the lap, bit of a front-end wobble for Miguel Parra. He's really pushing very hard indeed. So lap 4 out of 16 we're on here in Estoril. We thank you so much for joining us here for the first race of the day in the European Talent Cup, wherever it is that you're watching in the world. Meanwhile, let's come back to the racing because the slipstream is really coming into effect. Jesperson's going to go from first to third in the space of about 300 metres because here comes Parra, here comes Gonzalez as well. Into the first corner we go, hard on the brakes. Gonzalez retakes the lead, but will he run it too hot into that very difficult first corner? No, because he manages to make the apex very nicely indeed, and he and Miguel Parra now sit in first and second position.
Yeah, Parra looks like he's really comfortable. I mean, Gonzalez, I mean, I told you, you know, he looked comfortable already from Friday and Saturday's practices, and as you saw there, he seems to be in another league, a small step faster than anybody else, and as we saw with his results, I think he's the most consistent out there, and you know, he can pass wherever he wants, really. So I think it's going to be difficult for him to pull away, but I think he just settle around for these next few laps. You know, see where he can be quicker than the rest and find those gains and use them for the last laps.
Kawakami getting shuffled back by Francisco Gomez, and now Edouard Melgar's coming into the party as well. So it's gone from being what was a 4-way scrap for the front already to a 5-way scrap, and that looks like it's Alejandro Dieth running offline. We mentioned that he's gone down the order. He's not actually on our timing screen, so he's outside the top 23 riders that we have on our screens here, and is right down towards the back end of the grid in 26th position. So Alex Toledo, unfortunately, his weekend, a bit of a contrast to what we had in Valencia, taking the race victory, and it's all gone wrong for him here now in the first race. So disappointment there for Alex Toledo. Lap 5 out of 16 we're on here in Estoril. The championship is separated by 8 points as we came into this round. It's going to be very interesting to see how it fares after this weekend because it was, as we said, very close at the start of the season. And that is looking like it's going to be changing now because, of course, Alex Toledo is right far down the order, leading the way. He was going into this round on 64 points. His nearest rival was Andreas Perez. So both riders there in the top 2 in the championship failing to score. Their nearest rival is Manuel Gonzalez, who is now currently leading the race. And Alex Toledo actually not down in 26th position, but according to the timing screens here, or the graphic you can see on screen, he's actually in 10th place, unless that is inaccurate. I would probably go on the timing screens more than what we've got on the graphics on screen at the moment. So it looks like Alex Toledo suffered some kind of a mechanical issue. Something on his bike's gone wrong. He doesn't look comfortable on there at all, does he?
No, and you know, the front group are running in, you know, low 51s, while the second group are running in mid 50s. The reason is, you know, with all these passings and that, you lose time. And if they keep doing that, I think the group's going to get bigger and bigger because the groups behind them are just going to start catching them. And I don't think that's what Gonzalez wants.
No, exactly. He's really going to be trying to put the bit between his teeth. He's going to have to try and set faster laps than these guys, but that's not easy when you've got the likes of Miguel Parra, Francisco Gomez, Simon Jesperson following you. No, I mean, it's kind of like cycling. I like bringing cycling because it's so similar. You guys have to help each other out and not. Oh, red flag. We have, yeah. We got a. No, we haven't. No, it's still racing. I think it's just a glitch on the time. No, we have. Yeah, you're quite right. I apologise. So yeah, red flag in the race. So the race has been curtailed on lap 6 out of 16. I have a feeling it could be the wind. I mean, it's windy out there and. Maybe a crash, I'm not sure. Now, we'll give you some updates as soon as we can. We have noticed that Victor Alonso went absent from the timing screen, so we will give you an update as soon as we can. But the red flag, as Dakota said, is now out. The race is curtailed, and it's gone back to lap 5 out of 16. So we're going to have all the riders coming into pit lane now. We had this, of course, in Moto 2 in Valencia. So all the riders will go back into pit lane. They'll wait for confirmation from race direction as to when the race will get restarted, if indeed it will be restarted. Yep. Because, of course, they have to complete. I'm just having a look at my screen. 2/3 race distance. That's 10 laps. So they've got to complete another 5 laps before they can be awarded full points in this race. Yeah. So I think they'll cut short this this race. And undoubtedly, yeah. We've got a very packed schedule, of course. It's probably going to be a 5-lap race and. It's going to be a good race. Yeah, we had something similar in the Cuna de Campeones race yesterday, which is a support class here for the FIM CEV Repsol. We had 3 red flags in total in the racing yesterday. So they had a 5-lap sprint, and by the time you blinked, the race was over, basically. So there were a few riders that got poor starts. All the riders now coming into pit lane there. There is the number 44 that we can see, Beatriz Neela's teammate. That's Adriana Fernandez. There is Beatriz Neela, the only female rider on the grid, who, of course, is competing in the Red Bull Rookies in 2017. All the riders now coming into the pit box. So I'm very intrigued what happened. Yeah, well, why they pulled out. We'll give confirmation, of course. We'll get confirmation from race direction. Here we go. Is it a crash from a rider? Let's see. Oh my goodness me! A couple of riders caught up in there. No wonder the red flag was thrown. There's bikes and there's debris strewn across the track. We can't really see who's on one of the Rins bikes. So that's a new rider for this weekend on the number 8. There's another one. Yeah, Victor Alonso was involved in that. I can't quite see who else that was from there. We're going to give you updates as soon as we can. It's very difficult to just make out from the helmet without seeing the full livery and, of course, the number of the bike. So as soon as we can give you some confirmation, looks like I'm just seeing from the timing screens, we had Alex Toledo who'd stopped, of course. Victor Alonso, who was involved, as we saw. Potentially Filip Rihashek as well. That would be a disaster for Rihashek if indeed he was involved with that. We should stress, of course, we are just speculating to accumulate at the moment. As soon as we get confirmation, we'll be able to give it to you. But Rihashek, of course, was involved in that start line incident that we had in Valencia as well, with Maikon Kawakami, if you recall. They came together. Yeah. After the green flag was thrown. And this is going to give a bit of an advantage to this man here, Alex Toledo, who's been suffering with technical problems, as we saw from the outset of this race. He bravely soldiered on, but now the team are going to have a chance to be able to work on the bike and get whatever the problems were fixed in time for the race to be restarted. Yeah, definitely. He's lucky. We've seen this, you know, a lot of times, and it could get look at, I'm laughing because look at Julio, you know, Miralles is just trying to talk to him and see what the problem is with the bike. And, you know, it's difficult. It's difficult for these riders to, you know, to come back and, you know, having these technical issues and regaining that confidence back with the bike, because you don't know if the bike's going to be fine when you go back out there, and you're hoping it is. So
hopefully, the mechanics can solve the issue for him.
We have had confirmation from Race Direction. Quick restart procedure will take place. So basically what that means is the riders will go out on their sighting lap. They'll go to the grid. They'll have just one team member with them on the grid just to make sure the bike's okay, everything's all good. And then we'll have a 5-lap sprint to the checkered flag. So forgive my vocal cords for this one because it's going to get pretty exciting and hair-raising, as you can see. We just can see at the top there of the, just to the right-hand side of the podium, the flag's waving around all over the place. The wind direction doesn't really know what it wants to do at all at the moment.
No, it looks like a tornado. The wind could be going one way and then literally 5 minutes later going the other way. That's what that's what I was talking about. So it makes it more difficult for us to ride in those conditions because, it could, for some reason, you'll be braking in the same area 2 laps ago, and then, you go wide and you don't understand why, but it's all a factor from the wind.
It's going to be very interesting to find out. So we wait for confirmation, of course, with Race Direction. Let's just run you through the running order for the what we believe will be the grid. Manuel Gonzalez, Miguel Parra and Simon Jesperson will be on the front row. Then it will be Francisco Gomez, Michael Kawakami and Edouard Melgar. I think because a certain portion of the race have been completed, they will go from the running order as it was before the race was stopped, as opposed to the original grid positions. But we'll give you confirmation of that, of course, as soon as we have it. So as we said, the second row of the grid, Gomez, Kawakami and Edouard Melgar. Row 3, Alejandro Diez, Jamie Davis up in P8, so that'll be a brilliant start for the British rider. And then Johan Uvina in 9th place. Then it'll be Alex Toledo in 10th position at the head of row number 4, with Pietro Pevelainen, the Finnish rider, and Vincent Falcone in 12th position. So it's going to be interesting to see what will happen. Of course, the riders who had retired from this race, that's Victor Alonso, Filip Rihaszek and Andreas Perez, will not be able to take the restart. However, the riders who had carried on, namely Alex Toledo with those technical issues, will be able to restart this race, providing, of course, the team are able to fix the technical issue. Here's another replay of the crash then. We only see the back end of it. Here's the riders involved. So it was indeed Victor Alonso and Filip Rihaszek. So the Czech rider and the Spaniard involved in that incident there, which was very nasty indeed. Unfortunately, we only saw the back end of the incident, so we didn't manage to see what happened, but their bikes travelled a long way, and Victor Alonso looks like he was in some form of discomfort there. There is another rider going down. That's Jose Suarez, who also retired. That was going through the right-hander at the latter part of the lap. So
he looks a little bit hurt. Yeah,
it looks like he's limping away from that. We hope that Jose is going to be okay, but looks like it was a completely unrelated incident, just the fact that there were, of course, 3 incidents involved, 2, I should say, involving 3 riders in such a short space of time really is what caused that.
Yeah, but more so the first one, with the bike in the middle of the track, 2 bikes in the middle of the track, and it looked like a big one. So just better off, putting that red flag out, keeping everyone safe, and, restarting the race with 5 laps. Unfortunate, for Gonzalez, who was having such a good start of the race. Oh, here's
this is Andreas Perez. Yeah, this was earlier on in the race. He went down at the first corner. Looks like he just got, he wasn't very happy, so he must have got hung out to dry in that first corner there. There he is, unfortunately retired from this race, so won't be able to make that quick restart. Doesn't look too displeased at the moment, so he's obviously not in any discomfort, which is good to see. But nonetheless, it's a big shame there for Andreas Perez. But he has, of course, as we mentioned earlier on, got that chance to rectify his race as well.
That's what's good about race 2, He can forget about what happened in race 1, hopefully, or maybe, change some settings on the bike and make it better. You never know with him. And, refocus again, get into the zone and, start race 2 and do what he has to do and not make that same mistake again.
Exactly. You can hear the cameras on the grid and on this circuit that are absolutely being mortified by the wind. I was talking to some of the cameramen yesterday and they said it's worse than anything. It could be worse than snow, sleet, rain. Wind is the biggest thing that upsets the cameramen. Yeah, and you can't blame them.
No. Because I think they have to hold on to the thing all day, so tight, so the thing won't move or jiggle. So the fans, that are watching on TV, don't have a clear shot. So, like you said, wind's horrible. I mean, I think that they have the hardest job out there. They got to be out there for like 6-7 hours, whether it's pouring rain, 80 degrees, windy. They still got to be out there, and it's, thanks to them. everybody can watch.
Exactly, yeah. We do owe a good service to those guys. And, of course, the marshals that are here as well, providing us with some fantastic coverage as well throughout the course of the circuit. We wouldn't be able to go racing, of course, without the marshals, and we wouldn't be able to bring you this fantastic live broadcast without the cameramen as well. So credit to those guys for doing what is a brilliant job. Still waiting for confirmation from Race Direction at the moment as to when the pit lane will be opening. I should mention as well, because, of course, the results will go back a lap, that the fastest lap being set throughout the course of that race was actually Edouard Melgar. He was in 6th position at that point with a 1:50.297. If we compare that to the qualifying times, that would have set him up for third on the grid.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see that a lot of times where guys in a big group like that, especially in this class, like guys that are in 6th and 7th position, have the fastest lap time. And people will say, but how is that possible? He's running 6th or 7th. How is that possible? He's got the fastest lap time of the race. And it's because of the slipstream. If you have, and it's really true this, if you have a slipstream of 3 or 4 bikes, you could gain half a second easily on just that. Just basically sitting right behind a bike and gaining that slipstream. So that's what I told you with these bikes. Slipstream's such an important key. And but anyways, like you said, they're running in comfortable 50s. Depends the wind, it depends who's passing who or who's messing each other up. But now 5-lap race, it's going to be a hairball race, and everyone just has to keep calm and do what they did in race 1 and at the start of the race 1.
A hairball race. I've never heard that expression used before.
Hairball. I think it's an American term, so.
Exactly, yeah. You won't catch me using that anytime soon, I'm sure. So the circuit of Estoril, as you can see, people's hair being blown about left, right and centre. It makes me glad I had all mine cut off a few years ago, I've got to be honest with you. But good to see so many fans here this weekend as well. It's been one of the busiest weekends that we've had so far in the CEV Repsol. And as you can see there, the wind really picking up. Not good at all for these riders on the lighter bikes. So we'll have to wait and see when we'll get this race underway. We're still waiting for confirmation from Race Direction at the moment. But stay tuned, of course. We'll bring you that 5-lap sprint in the European Talent Cup very, very shortly indeed. So it's going to be interesting to find out what's going to happen with these guys as well. And, of course, with these 5 laps, the race is being shortened. So it's going to be, as you said, so exciting and so close.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be a 5-sprint race. It's not even a normal race. And already, this guy here, Manuel Gonzalez, he needs to do what he did at the start of race 1, have a good start, and just focus. Don't get shuffled back too far back, and and wait the first 2 laps to just get settled, and then the last 3 laps just go for it.
Well, one advantage, of course, it does have, as we can see the track officials putting the grid markers out for all of the riders that are going to start in their respective positions. Just looking here at the positions that are being put on the grid. So, yes, these guys are going to go by the looks of things, just seeing from the numbers that we can see on the grid there. I can see the number 25, that's in 6th position. So, that's Edouard Melgar. So they are actually going to go, by the looks of things, from the original grid placings, which is very surprising indeed. Give you more information on that as soon as we can. I could be completely wrong, of course.
I think the camera view was a little bit, in third row, so not in the first 2 rows. So maybe it was a little bit confusing. We'll have to confirm in a few minutes.
Exactly. Yes, we will. So the sun is shining.
Fans, always good to see a Rossi fan out here.
Absolutely. Really good to see so many fans as well, actually. As we said, the circuit, the event has been one of the best attended that we've seen in the season so far. So here we are. Schedule from Race Direction. Pit lane to open at 11:30 local time. That's just over 5 minutes from now. So it's 11:25 just going local time. And then the riders, of course, as we said, will go out on that sighting lap. They'll go onto the grid with just 1 team member assisting them to make sure there are no problems with their motorcycle. Then they'll get the warm-up lap underway. And then we'll go. Here's some highlights, though, from the start of this race. Here we go. Let's just run you through the first run of the race. Well, it was Simon Jesperson who made a very good start. He looked very, very good. He got the jump away from the grid, heading into the first corner. Manuel Gonzalez, though, looked like he tried to change that, as the number 27 of Alejandro Diaz also made a lightning start in 3rd position. Into the first chicane, the first time into the chicane of turns 9 and 10 they went, however, all changing order, as Andreas Perez went down the road. Disappointment there for Andreas Perez. He won't be making this restart either. Here we go, though, into turns 9 and turn 10. Manuel Gonzalez still leading the way at the moment, but Simon Jesperson looks to try and change that. The Danish rider hitting the front of the race as Maikon Kawakami slit himself into second position. Good race from the Brazilian rider up until that red flag. Miguel Parra, though, looked very racy indeed in fourth place as Alejandro Diez and Edouard Melgar closed on the leading pack. So it became a 7-way battle for the lead. Meanwhile, Miguel Parra got his way up the inside of Manuel Gonzalez. Nice bit of overtaking there, and then looked to try and change the lead, but Manuel Gonzalez also came through. So Jesperson went from first to third position in the space of one start-finish straight. Into the first corner we went with Manuel Gonzalez leading the way, and this was the incident that brought out the red flag. A nasty, nasty crash between Filip Rihashek and Victor Alonso. Both riders fortunately walked away from the incident, but also Jose Suarez going down the road at a near identical time, bringing out the red flag in the race, and that curtailed, unfortunately, the action. All the riders went into pit lane. And now we await the 5-lap sprint here for the first race of the day at the European Talent Cup for the FIM CEV Repsol. A bit of a shame to have the race curtailed so quickly, but nonetheless, a 5-lap sprint is going to be a very, very exciting prospect indeed. Now, of course, these riders have gone into pit lane Dakota. They're going to be refocusing now, getting themselves back in the game, and they've got to get themselves ready to go racing again. And after they've stopped and they've seen an incident like that on track, how hard is it to refocus your mind after that? Do you just have to put it to one side, or what do you do?
Yeah, it's weird because it kind of breaks your rhythm, you know? It's like you were in a full race mode, you know, doing your thing, and, you know, then they stop it, and then you got to wait, you know, 15 minutes. It's like, so what do? You just have to kind of call it like race 2, you know, just refocus, do everything you had to do again, go through the same steps, and yeah, gain your confidence back, and hopefully, you know, everyone, maybe, you know, you never know, some kids might have, you know, changed some things that they felt, you know, they had some issues during the race, which gives them some advantage, and try it out. So it gives them an opportunity maybe to do better.
Exactly. It's going to be very interesting to find it out. Let's just take this opportunity to remind you of the championship going into this round. It was Alex Toledo who led the way. He, unfortunately, as we saw, had some technical problems with his bike. It remains to be seen whether he'll be able to make the restart, but he was ahead in the championship by 8 points on 64 in total after that victory he had in Valencia. Trailing him was Andreas Perez, who we saw go down the road just a couple of moments ago in the highlights, so he won't be making the restart. So it looks very likely that he'll be losing his second position in the championship. But just 4 points adrift of him is Manuel Gonzalez, and then just 2 points adrift of Gonzalez on 48 points is Miguel Parra, and Simon Jesperson not too far behind. So Andreas Perez has a lot to lose in this race. Likewise, Alex Toledo. They could see themselves going from first and second, respectively, all the way down into about 5th or 6th position in the championship just at the end of this first race. So difficult times for those guys.
Yeah, it just shows you how close the championship is. And there's just no, you know, no time to make mistakes, or no room to make mistakes. And you're always going to have a mistake. Everyone's going to make a mistake in this season. And the game is who's going to make the bigger mistake and who's going to make more mistakes. So, and that's going to be the factor of who's going to win this championship.
Well, I recall listening to the press conference in Moto 2 in Valencia last time after Stephen Odendahl finished on the podium, and he was saying that the championship, is so short that you can't afford a mistake in this championship at all. You've just got to be on your A game all time, and consistency and finishing the races is the key. It's got to be.
Yeah, and he's totally right. And, you know, there's only, I think, 7 rounds for them for Moto 2. So, you know, like you said, there's just no room for mistakes. They do get 2 races per weekend, which, you know, is a good 50 points, which is a lot. And so small mistakes can be done, but not too many.
So 5 seconds to go until pit lane is opened, and Alex Toledo will make the restart in the race. He will, though, if they start from their race order as opposed to their original grid order, start right from the very back of the grid. So that 5-lap dash, there's only going to be so much he's going to be able to do in those 5 laps, but he's going to be very determined indeed. So it's going to be a very interesting set of affairs to see how he gets on. So here we go then. Quick restart procedure in place for these riders. As we can see, pit lane is now open. So it's open for just 60 seconds. They have a minute to get it out on track. After that time, the red light is shown. The pit lane is then closed. And after it's closed, they can't come out onto track and they won't be able to make the restart of the race. So it's all a quick order for these guys. Wonder what happened, though, with Alex Toledo. Could have been a misfire on his bike or something like that. Because
it says that the grid position's based on standings as a lap 5.
There we go. So that means, then, that the running order will be as it was at the start of that race. So Manuel Gonzalez will start from pole position in this race. So going to be interesting to see how these guys get on. Wait for them to come around to the grid. Then, of course, we'll give you that full grid order. All of these guys now completing their warm-up lap, or their sighting lap, just to get their idea in. They're getting that heat and temperature into the brakes and the tyres. They'll have that time to do that, of course, on the warm-up lap, and just getting a feel for the bikes and getting themselves back in the game as well. So there's Manuel Gonzalez, P2 Pevalainen, qualified in 13th place in P2, but unfortunately ended up getting shuffled down 3 positions after a grid penalty for cruising on the racing line. We saw it in qualifying in Moto 3 in the World Championship this year. We've seen it in the CEV this year as well, and race direction coming down very hard on these guys. There's Simon Jesperson, the Danish rider, just coming out of the chicane of turns 9 and 10 into the final part of the lap for him. Keep an eye out for him. He starts on the outside now of the front row of the grid in 3rd position, so not his original starting spot of 2nd, but nonetheless he's going to be looking to get himself up towards the podium. He's in, of course, the podium position at the start of this race, but he'll be looking to try and get himself into the lead by the end of the 5th lap. Just 5 laps for these riders. So they're heading to the grid now. And we'll give you, of course, the full grid order as soon as these riders are on the grid, and we'll tell you what's happening. And just see out of the commentary position, the riders are lining up on the grid. Temperature here not looking too bad at all. It's one of the cooler rounds that we've had so far this season. If we compare it to what we had in Valencia, where it's 34 degrees all day, it was very hot indeed, but it's actually only about 24, 25 here, which is quite nippy, as the Spanish would imagine.
Yeah, and well, if you take away the wind, it would be a lot warmer. So the wind's actually, there seems to be a problem with
Gonzalez bike. Yeah, this is the pole sitter. So Manuel Gonzalez having some problems with his bike. Are they going to run that back to pit lane? They are. So Manuel Gonzalez from pole position at the 2nd start of this race, and also looks like some problems. Is that Iker Garcia? It must be, because Andreas Perez have restarted. So the other Reale Avintia Academy bike having some problems as well. But the big story is that the pole setter, Manuel Gonzalez, will not make the restart. Miguel Parra then, in the middle of the 2nd row, effectively takes pole position with Simon Jesperson in 3rd place. Then it's Francisco Gomez, Maikon Kawakami, Edward Melgar. Row 3, Alejandro Diez, Jamie Davis, and Johan Uvina on row number 3 in 9th position. So keep an eye out for those guys. They've benefited from their original starting positions. Then row 4 is Alex Toledo. So all of his Christmases have come at once for Alex Toledo. P2 Pevalainen and Vincent Falcone in 4th place. Then it's Iker Garcia, who we saw with some problems also on the grid. Ferdinand Hernandez. And then we go to row 7, Ariel Nivalark. Then Beatrice Neela, Colin Felhazen. Jack Hart on row 8. And then Kiko Martine on the back end of the grid in 23rd position. But now the riders on their warming up lap, Dakota. But drama in the form of the pole setter not making the start of the race.
That's what I was talking about, in this championship is consistency, but, it could not be your mistake. It could be, a bike problem or anything. And
well, he's now out on track, and I don't believe, because the last bike has passed him, whether he'll be able to take that pole position remains to be seen. But because he went into pit lane, I think he'll have to start from the back of the grid for this one. There's a bit of confusion over that here in the box, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. If he's able to take his pole position, I will be quite amazed, but nonetheless, stranger things have happened in motor racing, and they usually do, so all remains to be seen. But at the moment, we believe that Miguel Parra and Simon Jesperson will end up at the sharp end of the grid. So riders now on their warming up lap, just getting that crucial heat into their tyres and their brakes, and of course, as they've had the chance to restart, they'll have had the chance to change tyres as well. They could put themselves on some new rubber, or they could keep their scrubbed old ones as well. And in a situation like this, Dakota, what would you do? Would you stick with the old rubber, or would you put new tyres on? Is it worth the risk?
To be honest, with these bikes, I don't think the tire wear is so aggressive. So I think, to be honest, just run. If I was on a Moto2 team, Moto2 bike, 100% I'd use a new tire, and I'd put a soft. With 5 laps to go, you need the. It don't really matter, it's not like you need a 20-lap tire that's gonna, it's not gonna wear out in 5 laps. So with these boys, though, I think most of them will just keep the same tire, especially with 5 laps to go. I don't think it'll make a big difference.
Well, it's going to be very exciting to see what happens. Manuel Gonzalez, as we said, ended up pulling off of the grid, going into pit lane, and is now right at the tail end of the field. It remains to be seen whether he will end up taking his original grid slot of pole position, or will there be a vacant slot. There he is, the number 18, and it looks like he is going to be at the very back end of the grid. So that could be a bit of a disaster there for the How Courier Racing team. There he is, Manuel Gonzalez, just coming into the back end of the field, and it's all gone wrong for the Spaniard.
It'll make it interesting, that's for sure, for him.
Exactly. It's going to be a very exciting start to the race. So Miguel Parra, Simon Jesperson on the front row of the grid. The red lights are on. They go away now, and we get the restart underway. Jesperson once again with an absolutely cracking getaway off the front row of the grid. Everybody making it away down to the first corner very nicely indeed. But it's a drag race between Jesperson and Miguel Parra into the first corner. Who's going to blink first? It's Jesperson. So Parra leads the way, but will he run it too hot into that very accused right-hander? Very close indeed between those guys, but Parra leads the way. He's got the jump that he needed. He is now ahead of Simon Jesperson. So good start there from the Spanish rider ahead of the Danish man, but now it's all eyes on Manuel Gonzalez on the How Courier Racing bike. Will he be able to make progress? Already looks like he's made some ground on the opening lap, and he's up into the inside the top 20 by the looks of things. So that could be an absolutely brilliant opening lap from Manuel Gonzalez already with just a couple of corners completed, but now the focus is on the lead of the race and further back as well. There he is, Manuel Gonzalez, just behind one of these Team Stratos bikes, trying to find his way through as we come down into the Parabolica interior. A very nice opportunity for overtaking. We can see Jamie Davis there. He is battling inside this leading group, or what will effectively be the leading group. Here comes Miguel Parra, though, looking to try and challenge for the lead against Simon Jesperson. Down into the right-hander of turn 7, and then into turn 8 we go. Double apex right-hander this one, into the right, very close indeed, through there, and then into turns 9, and then turn number 10. But it is now Jesperson who leads the way ahead of Miguel Parra, so he's gotten the advantage, and it's all eyes on Manuel Gonzalez starting from the back end of the grid. He's got to be inside the points now. Surely he's made up such significant inroads in this race. I'd be astonished if we saw a top 20 finish, top 15 or even top 10 finish from him. But nonetheless, it would be a very exciting end with just 5 laps remaining.
He's in 10th already.
Unbelievable start from Manuel Gonzalez. Really got the bit between his teeth. Over the timing line we go. Here comes Miguel Parra, looking to try and take the lead away from Simon Jesperson. He had the slipstream. Meanwhile, third place is up for grabs as well, as here comes Gonzalez, and also the number 27 of Alejandro Diez into the foray as well. So Gomez now leads the way ahead of Diez. Gonzalez shuffled out. Not Gonzalez, I apologise. Parra shuffled out, as well as the number 43 of Simon Jesperson. And also slotting into place there was Edouard Melgar, very close behind. But keep an eye out there for Manuel Gonzalez. He has gone from 24th on the grid all the way up inside the top 5 in the space of a lap. This is unprecedented from Manuel Gonzalez. We haven't seen anything like this so far this season. What a recovery ride it is going to be from the Spaniard, and there's still 4 laps to go. He could be one of the only riders that goes from the back of the grid to the front and wins the race.
I know. I mean, I've only seen this in Moto3 with Brad Binder, but also Mark Marquez back in the day. But there wasn't 5 laps to, it wasn't a 5-lap race. It was more of a 20-lap race. So, like you said, if he ends up, he's already in the front group. So, I mean, he's got a chance of winning this in the next 4 laps, and that will be a record.
Though the red mist will have descended for the Spanish rider. Be very excited to see how he gets on. He's just 17 years of age, is Manuel Gonzalez. One of the elder statesmen, should we say, in the field as they come through that flip-flop. Chicane getting caught up, though, behind Michael Kawakami. We've seen a bit of contact between them as Jamie Davis profits from that and moves himself up inside the top 10. Now into 8th position for Jamie Davis. That will be his best result of the season so far. And Gonzalez is really pushing hard. You saw him running over the curbs there. Here we go.
It is. No, he actually runs in the back nearly of...
oh, dearie me. So I think it was
Melgar.
Yeah, indeed. So he was very close behind him. And I think Kawakami had his own incident as well. Here we go with Gonzalez. Meanwhile, the lead is changing as Alejandro Diez takes over at the front. And now Miguel Parra also looking under threat from Edouard Melgar. Melgar moves himself up into third place. So the running order, as it was at the start of the race, as Jamie Davis runs it too hot into the first corner. The British rider trying to bite off a bit more than he could chew into turn number 1. Now goes down outside the top 10. A big shame there for him as he was sitting in 8th place. But the man who started from the back end of the grid, he was in 6th place at the start of this second lap. And now he moves himself up inside the top 5. This is amazing riding from Manuel Gonzalez. Unbelievable. And Dakota, fastest lap
of the race. I was about to say that. With the 50.8 and the rest of them in the 51s. He's just in another league. I was telling you, earlier today. And look, there he goes into just on the outside of Jesperson, so now in the top 4 already.
Here we go with Diez. He's up the inside into the Parabolica interior, moves himself ahead of Melgar. They're getting very close indeed, but he runs it a bit hot. Melgar profits from that, takes advantage as they come down the hill in towards the difficult right-hander of turns number 7 and turn 8. It's a very difficult corner, that, because you're hard on the brakes and it drops downhill as well. Into the right-hander we go, and then it's that chicane where we've seen so many overtakes taking place. If this isn't close racing, I don't know what is. Here comes Gonzalez up the inside into 3rd position. Oh my goodness me. Manuel Gonzalez, whatever happens in this race, he can hold his head high afterwards. He's now in 3rd place, 3 laps, soon to become 2. I'm sure he's going to be up fighting for the lead of this one, unless Edouard Melgar can break away out in front.
No, I mean, he's right now he's hot. You know what I mean? His head's hot. He's angry what happened of the situation, and he just wants to pass, and win it. And there's a team. No, that's not his team.
That's the HMA Racing team willing on Alejandro Diez.
But
meanwhile,
I'm sure his team are on top of the wall.
Exactly, they're probably on top of the pit lane, let alone that. Flying flags for him or something along the lines of that. But here we go.
Someone goes wide.
So,
Jesperson, I think.
Yeah, Jesperson unfortunately runs it out to the car park. He'll probably need a ticket to get back in from there. Nonetheless, here comes Gonzalez. He's into 2nd place ahead of Diez. Into the right-hander. He was trying to find his way, but he gets it done. As Diez runs it wide into the right-hander. Up the inside he went and made the move stick. And now there are just 1.5 laps remaining, and Manuel Gonzalez is going to be the first rider to go from last to first in the space of 5 laps. What a ride this is going to be from the Spaniard, but Diez is not going to take it lying down. They go very close. They're nearly banging fairings as we come down into the Parabolica interior for the penultimate time. Will he be able to find his way through? Yes, he does. So Alejandro Diez says, you're not going to have it that easily, sunshine, and gets himself up into 2nd position.
Yeah, that was a little sneaky pass from Diez, I thought. Kind of gave him a little shove out to the track. So it's going to be just a really a battling 2 laps right now with these boys.
Exactly, yeah. Jesperson really lost out from that. He's now down in 7th position as Gonzalez goes up the inside once again of Diez into the chicane. Into the final sector we go. Just a couple more corners to go, and then we'll be on the final lap of racing. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. It's anybody's guess at this stage in the race. The championship is going to be blown wide open at the end of this first race. And don't forget, we've got a second one coming up for you later on this afternoon here in Estoril. So, Edouard Melgar leads the way over the timing line to start the final lap of racing. It's Manuel Gonzalez, who was in 23rd position just 4 laps ago. And now, on to the last lap. He is challenging for the lead of the race. Melgar goes very defensive indeed, but here comes Gonzalez. He leads into the first corner. Manuel Gonzalez from 23rd into the lead of the race, and Alejandro Diez running it out wide into the first corner allows Francisco Gomez up into 3rd place.
I mean, don't take away Melgar, because Melgar's been quick also all weekend, but Gonzalez leading it now.
What a race this is going to turn out to be. Edouard Melgar has ridden beautifully as Simon Jesperson cuts off the nose of Maikon Kawakami. Jesperson has got the bit between his teeth. He's made up a couple of positions after running wide at the first corner last time out. He's now into 5th place, is the Danish rider. Bit of a consolation for him, but nonetheless, he'll have been hoping to have been on the podium. There is Francisco Gomez, who of course was looking so strong in the last race in Valencia, but he bit off more than he could chew into turn 8 at Valencia. Valencia and went down the road after clipping the rear wheel of Miguel Parra. Meanwhile, out in front, Edouard Melgar leads the way on the final lap. He's managed to get himself ahead of Manuel Gonzalez down the hill into the right-hander of turns number 7 and turn number 8. They go very hard on the front end indeed. We're going to go into turns 9 and 10 in just a couple of moments' time. Surely this is going to be where the overtakes take place, but Gonzalez, he's not in the opportunity to do it there because he's going to get attacked from Gomez as well. They go into the final chicane, into the right-hander we go. The final sector of the lap. It's Melgar from Gonzalez. It's going to surely be a drag to the line out of the final corner. There's going to be just one more corner remaining, and through it we go now. Who is going to lead the way over the timing line? Will it be Melgar with his first win of the season, or will Gonzalez be able to do it? Out of the final corner we go. Here we go over the timing line of the European Talent Cup, and here we go. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Melgar. It's going to be Melgar who takes his first win of 2017 in the European Talent Cup. A valiant effort from Manuel Gonzalez, and second position for the Spanish rider. He finishes just 41 thousandths of a second behind. Unbelievable. And Francisco Gomez takes third place in that race. The final spot on the rostrum. Alejandro Diez was fourth. Maikon Kawakami was fifth. Simon Jesperson was sixth. Miguel Parra seventh. Pieter Pervalainen eighth. Iker Garcia managed to get himself back on the grid and up to ninth place, so he had a good race as well considering where he started. And then Jamie Davis finished inside the top 10. But what a race. Unbelievable stuff. Manuel Gonzalez from 23rd to 2nd position. He's not too displeased with that at all. He wheelies his way. And what a race that will be. I'm sure the Hal Courier Racing team will have something to say about that. We got very excited towards the end of that one. Francisco Gomez, some consolation for him after the disaster of a race that he had in Albacete with that DNF. A third position for him. Don't forget, of course, this is going to blow the championship wide open as well. It'll be interesting to see how it fares. It was Alex Toledo that led the way, but only by the smallest of margins going into this weekend. Only by 8 points. And now, with 2 races, of course, that order is going to have changed quite significantly. There is Francisco Gomez just popping a wheelie. Andres Vostatek just behind him. So a very exciting race indeed here in the European Talent Cup. Unbelievable action here in Estoril. Edouard Melgar, his first win of the 2017 season. He won't be too displeased with that at all, you would begin to imagine. There'll be some celebrating going on in the Grupo Mercado pit box after that. Just having a look at his best finish so far this season for Edouard Melgar. It was actually last time out, of course, in Valencia for the Spanish rider. It was a good weekend there for Edouard Melgar, but nonetheless, he was perhaps a bit further down the order than he would have liked in a previous few rounds. So sits a bit further down in the championship, but he took 16 points last time out, so he took his first podium, and now he's taken his first ever victory. So brilliant race there for the Spaniard. He'll be very delighted with that, as you would begin to imagine. And here he is now on his cooling and down lap heading towards pit lane. So here we go then, final confirmation of the results of that race. So it is Edouard Melgar with his first win of the season. Manuel Gonzalez in 2nd place after coming from 23rd on the grid. Francisco Gomez was 3rd, Diez was 4th. Kawakami a brilliant 5th place for the Brazilian, back on form. Likewise Simon Jesperson in 6th place. Then comes Miguel Parra, Pieter Pervalainen, and then Iker Garcia. So after all of that strife that Garcia had, that's really good for him to finish inside the top 9. Jamie Davis looks like he would be battling inside the top 5, but ran it a bit wide at the first corner and finishes in 10th place as the highest Briton. Vincent Falcone, Giovanni Vigna, Alex Toledo, Ferran Hernandez, Andres Vostatek, the final points finisher. Then it's Gregorio, Adrian Fernandez in 17th place, and then Stefano Kristin was 18th. And then further down the order, 19th was Beatriz Nila, 20th was Aurel Nivelark, 21st was Colin Forthazen, Jack Hart was 22nd, and then Kiko Martine, the wildcard Portuguese rider, was 23rd and last of the classified runners. There we go then, the first ever win for Edouard Melgar, and that is going to be such a confidence boost for the Spanish rider, and he doesn't look too displeased with that result at all, does he? Be interested to see what he has to say to Dakota in just a few moments' time. But there we are, the team congratulating him after that. You can see a few scuffs on his leathers from a previous few crashes that he's had over the course of the season. But nonetheless, a brilliant result for him, riding that number 25. New schedule, as you can see, race will start this is for Moto 2 for the next race up. The pit lane will open at 12 p.m. local time, so that's actually going to be a little bit earlier than we were expecting. Sorry, a little bit later than we were expecting. It was supposed to open at 11:45, but of course, due to the delay in procedures with that red flag, it does mean the pit lane will open, so everything will be knocked back 15 minutes effectively. But still, an 18-lap race for those riders in Moto 2. But Edouard Melgar on the number 25, his first ever win. Brilliant result for the 14-year-old. He's from Montaro in Spain. Competed in the Honda CBR 300 Cup last year, won it, so he is a racer with some serious pedigree, and coming here into the European Talent Cup, doing a great job. So very, very excited to see. So let's go down to pit lane then, talk to Dakota. Very happy with the victory. That loosely translates into, in Spanish, I don't know much in Spanish, but I do know a little bit. So there we go. Here was the race then. This was the start of the European Talent Cup. Well, it was Manuel Gonzalez. This was the first start of the race that we had. He was on pole position. Simon Jesperson made an absolutely blinding getaway, though, into the first corner. Meanwhile, Alejandro Diez also looked to try and find his way through into the lead into the first corner, but to no avail. Into the chicane for the first time we went. Gonzalez still led the way as Andreas Perez chucked it down the road. Unfortunately for the Spaniard, he would not be able to get out even for the restart. Meanwhile, there was some serious action taking place further back as Miguel Parra made some good inroads into the leading group. Maikon Kawakami set himself in third place, didn't ever lead the way in the course of the race, or the first part of the race, but nonetheless looked very quick and consistent. Then Simon Jesperson had to battle with the likes of Miguel Parra and Manuel Gonzalez. Into the right-hander we went, into turn 7 and turn number 8. Tried to find a way through, did Jesperson, but no opportunities being presented. Then he was leading the way on the start-finish straight, but lost 2 positions in the space of a corner. And it was just after that where it all went wrong for all of the riders, unfortunately, because Victor Alonso and Philip Rihacek got caught up in a very nasty incident. Here we go. This brought out the red flag in the race. The bikes tumbled all over the track. They were littered everywhere. There was debris, and it looked like Victor Alonso was very, very winded from that crash, and also Jose Suarez going down the road at exactly the same time. The red flag was brought out, the riders went back into pit lane, and that meant that we had to get the restart underway, which would just be a 5-lap sprint. But there was drama on the grid for this man, Manuel Gonzalez. His bike stopping on the grid, some kind of a mechanical fault, and he had to get it pushed back into pit lane, restarted by the team, and then he had to start right at the very back of the grid in 23rd position. So this is how they got off the line. It was Miguel Parra who had the advantage into the first corner, but Simon Jesperson looked very racy indeed in second place, as Gomez and Diez looked very, very menacing as well. A 5-lap sprint did cause a lot of action, as we saw. Manuel Gonzalez cherry-picking his way through the field from 23rd into 10th place by the end of the first lap, and he kept on getting higher and higher. What a race it turned out to be. There was a few scary moments with Kawakami behind, but he then challenged for the lead of the race with the 43 of Simon Jesperson, got himself up into third place, and then challenged the likes of Gomez and Miguel Parra for the lead of the race. Alejandro Diez just in front of him, got himself up the inside of the Spanish rider into the right-hander, and then his next target was the number 25 of Edouard Melgar. This was on the penultimate lap, but coming onto the final lap now, we saw Melgar with an advantage over the timing line we went, and Gonzalez led the way into the first corner as Melgar braked a little bit too early, but Melgar got the advantage as they came down into the Parabolica interior, got the advantage on the slipstream, hard on the brakes he went, and took the lead, and then he would never be troubled again until the end of the race. Over the timing line, 41 hundredths of a second separating the top 2 riders of Edouard Melgar and Manuel Gonzalez, and then third place actually only separated by 1/1000th of a second, with Francisco Gomez and Alejandro Diez being separated being very, very close over the timing line. But Edouard Melgar, his first and best ever result in the FIM CEV Repsol in the European Talent Cup.
Tom, take a breath.
I need to after that one, my friend. My goodness me. I haven't stopped talking since you left the commentary box.
It was funny. It's a good walk down to to the grid down there and to the podium, and I was listening outside the room, and he can hear you from down the steps. And I can just imagine those last laps. The people in the press room must be just like
wondering what's going on.
What is happening in there?
Dear, oh dear. So an all-Spanish podium in the European Talent Cup. Firstly presented to the winning team, Grupo Mercado Camé. Their first ever Constructors Trophy, or Teams Trophy in the FIM CEV Repsol. Then it's the third place man. What a race it was.
Incredible race.
Unbelievable. Francisco Gomez taking the third place trophy.
Yeah.
Manuel Gonzalez, though.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. I know we sing his praises a lot, or we sung his praises a lot during the course of that race, but we have to, really, because we haven't seen anything
starting
like that.
from last. You know, and it's not just that. It's starting from last with just 5 laps, 5 laps race. I mean, it doesn't give you a lot of time to, to gain all that space back. And, I mean, already running in the top 5 in lap 2 is just incredible.
Unbelievable stuff. Here we go then. Edouard Melgar presented with the winner's trophy and the fuel card as well. He gets free fuel. Not entirely sure for how long, but nonetheless.
I was just about to say.
Indefinitely, by the looks of things. Why not?
Why not? I'd love that. I'd be filling up a whole bunch of jugs in the house until it stops.
So there is the podium. Edouard Melgar, Manuel Gonzalez, and Francisco Gomez. Here's the national anthem. Not entirely sure whether the tape recorder's broken there or something like that, but the Spanish national anthem being the abridged version, unfortunately, for
I'm not sure
the race winner.
If it's us that can't hear it, or because they seem to be.
It could potentially be, but I can still hear the ambient microphones going on. So there we are. Nonetheless, a brilliant race for the race winner. Unbelievable stuff from Edouard Melgar. He'll be very, very happy with that one. Second place of Manuel Gonzalez, put in a valiant effort during that race. And then the third position of Francisco Gomez, making amends for what was otherwise a very difficult race in Valencia. And they're all wondering what's gone on with the national anthem. I think it stopped for those guys there as well. So we did wonder where it had gone, but nonetheless.
Oh.
Everybody very happy that it's been brought back into life momentarily.
It was about to start and then it stopped.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's it.
I think they're going to call it quits.
Anyways,
after.
we've listened a lot of times the Spanish anthem because it seems to be always a Spanish winner here.
This is it, a Spanish winner in Portugal. So Edouard Melgar with his first ever win. What a race. So the championship standings then, what does this mean after the race? Well, it's Manuel Gonzalez now that leads the way after that brilliant ride from 23rd to 2nd. 72 points ahead of Alex Toledo by 5 on 67. Edouard Melgar, after that win, is now just 9 points adrift on 63. Miguel Parra, Andres Perez and Simon Jesperson involved in their own little duel. Then comes Alejandro Diez. Just inside the top 10 there is Iker Garcia after what was a very exciting race. A good ride from him as well, considering the problems he had on the grid. Johan Uvina, Pieter Pevelainen, Andrzej Vostatek. Jamie Davis, after that top 10 finish, moves himself up into 14th place. Then it's Matthew Gregorio. Vincent Falcone in 16th place. Just inside the top 20 is Aurel Naivalark, Falcaniero in 21st, not scoring any points here this weekend. And just bookending the field is Victor Alonso on the Rins 42 Protocasa machine.
Toledo finishing 12th gave an opportunity for Manuel to get some good points back. So let's see what can happen in the second race for him. I think he had an issue with the bike, though.
Exactly. It's going to be very exciting to see. So that was then the European Talent Cup race. Up next, in just a couple of moments' time, we're going to be bringing you the first race of the European Moto2 Championship live here in Estoril. Stay tuned, rather. We'll be back in just a couple of moments' time. So welcome back to the FIM CEV Repsol. That was the European Talent Cup. As you can see, Moto 2 is up next. 18 laps for these riders. And the pit lane is just about to open in 2, 3, 1. And there we go. 2, 3, 1. I'm getting my numbers in the wrong order as well. So there we go. Starting the race in starting the pit lane rather in just a few moments' time. You can see the preparations taking place. Pit lane is now open. The race will start as we see at 12:15 local time. 18 laps will be the duration. And we'll bring you updates on this as soon as we can. But 18 laps for these riders, as we said. Just looking to my notes as well. And it was supposed to be an 18-lap race originally. So we're not losing any race distance for these Moto 2 bikes as well. But a smaller grid than we've been used to, Dakota, as well. Just 15 riders taking to the grid for this weekend.
Yeah,